Hello, Commanders. Welcome to another day in Star Trek Fleet Command. I hope you're all doing well, that you've had fun as much as you can with Wave Defense this month. Getting near the end of the Battle Pass, so it's been interesting. I've experienced a little bit less crashes, but it still happens, and it's still an issue, but it's an interesting mechanic, and hopefully they can find ways to keep it interesting as we go on. Otherwise, it's a boring once-a-day thing you kind of do, I guess. But anyways, wanted to move on and talk about Deanna Troi, the new Enterprise E Deanna Troi. We now have 3 Deanna Trois in the game. So I wanted to talk about her abilities, kind of my initial thoughts, because I'm still working on unlocking her, and just see where I find her useful, where you can find value, and of course anything that I've missed or haven't talked about in the video, feel free to leave in the comments below or on my Discord. Before I get into that, if you're new, it would be a huge help if you could hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up. It really helps promote the channel with the YouTube algorithm, and helps me get out to more people and help more people with this content. Also helps me grow the channel to where I can hopefully help more people out, with this game. So anyways, if you can do that, it'd be great. And also, if you want to, you can hit the bell notification. It'll help you know when I come out with future videos. So now that's out of the way, let's hop in and talk about Deanna Troi. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to compare how she compares with Yuki Sulu. She is an officer I haven't used as much for a long time, but back in the day, I know a lot of bigger players would use her on their ships to attack bigger hostiles. There just wasn't a lot of hostile grinding crews at the time. So her captain's ability, which is different from Troi, as we'll talk about in a minute, because Deanna Troi is an officer ability, but her captain ability, which kind of tied you in with the type of officers you could use. I always wish she had it as an officer's ability, so that's why Deanna Troi's is so interesting to me. But hers was to decrease the shield health of the opponent's ship, and it doesn't say PvP, PvE, by 10% each round. So not accounting for damage you're doing to shields, you could at maximum 10 rounds and their shields would be completely gone. I did find when I used her that a lot of the rounds of the hostiles I was hitting at the time anyways were much less than that, but that's her ability there. Let's compare that with Deanna Troi. So I'm going to go all the way down, because that's where my unlocked are, my non-unlocks, my officers I'm still working on. Okay, so she's got psychoanalysis as the officer's ability. She has no captain's ability, so it'll do no good putting her in the captain's seat. Psychoanalysis reduces the opponent's shield health by 400% of officer attack at the beginning of each round versus non-armada hostiles. This has been corrected because it used to read differently. It used to not have this total officer attack in there, and that's actually how she worked. Their intention was for her not to work that way, because it basically just completely took the shields away right at the beginning of combat. But this is based upon officer attack. And if we go into STFC.space, and let's look at Deanna Troi, her psychoanalysis starts at tier 1 at 400% and goes up to 1,600% at tier 5. As a rare, she's more likely to be easier sourced in the game than an epic would be, for example. So I'm very interested in this. I think the G3 players, at least at tier 1, are going to get most value from using this ability. And it will take some testing. Once I unlock her, I will try and do that. But when you look at the shield health for the hostiles you're hitting at the G4, G5, especially G5 range, this just isn't going to do a whole lot, I think, at tier 1. Tier 5 max, maybe? We'll just have to see. One thing she does is she provides synergy to Picard. So if we look at Enterprise Picard, science officers, which Enterprise, E, Data, and Troi are both science officers, they both provide 40% increase to his captain's ability. So he has 60% to increase the rewards of hostiles and armadas by 60%. And with both Data and Troi adding an additional 40 each, that's an additional 80% plus the 60 is 140. So that's actually pretty good. You'll have to compare that with, say, your results that you get based upon the tier of your, say, your 5 of 11. You know, you kind of just have to play with it and see where your percentages will stack up based upon the tier of your 5 of 11, whether it's worth it or not. But as far as the psychoanalysis ability, I see this more as a G3, maybe G4 ability. It'll take some testing. The interesting thing for Deanna Troi, I think for higher level players, for the most part, is going to be this below deck ability here, in my opinion. So it's going to increase critical hit damage by 20% versus armadas and hostiles. This is interesting because it's the same at tier 1 as you get from Odo here. So here's Odo. But Odo caps out at 60%, where Troi caps out at 90%. So in theory, if you had extra slots below deck, after meeting your ship's abilities or your ship's percentages for attack, defense, and health, then if you have extra slots, you could put both of them below deck and get even more boosts your critical hit damage. So in a nutshell, that's where my opinion is on this. In summary, I think psychoanalysis at tier 1 is going to be good for, definitely for, for G3 players. But as you get higher up, unless you can get this maxed, I don't see this going to be huge benefit from having this as an officer, having her as an officer, especially if you have a higher tiered 5 of 11. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you all have to think. If you have Troi at a higher level player that you've ended up buying shards for Deanna Troi, I'd love to hear your feedback to see how effective she is at higher tiers for some of those higher level hostiles. I think she has a lot of potential, but like a lot of things in this game, your officers don't get really good for a lot of them until you've got them to tier 3 or tier 4. There are some that are exceptions in tier 1 or tier 2. They're still great officers, and it seems like they come out with more of those than they used to in the game, which is great. But it'll be interesting to see how well she does as we're able to tier her up and see where she fits in with our Armada crews or with our everyday hostile grinding crew. So anyways, thank you so much and have a good day.